Brethren, I would like you all to please raise your hand if you have ever offended somebody with something that you said. So I think I saw, pretty much every hand, which is convenient because that's what I'll be covering today. The Bible is full of commentary on offending others. They often refers to the tongue as a difficult foe to wrangle. David, Solomon, Isaiah, Job, and even Christ all discuss how difficult it is to tame the tongue. David prays in Psalm 141, verse 3, "Set a guard, O Lord, over my mouth. Keep a watch over the doors of my lips." Christ brings out another element of this. And actually, let's turn there. Luke 6, verse 45. Again, that's Luke 6, verse 45. Out of the abundance of the heart, his mouth speaks. So this meaning the tongue, what we say, is a byproduct of the heart and the mind. Meaning what we think and feel comes out in how we speak, what we say, and how we treat others. So we know that the heart and the mind of man are carnal and evil. So how do we stop the tongue from spreading this evil? Well, today I'd like to focus on James 3, and we're going to discuss James's thoughts on taming the tongue. We're going to cover why it is so difficult, why it is so necessary, and then hopefully provide some practical advice we can apply into our lives. I'd venture to guess that James at some point said something that offended someone as well. And if he was in the room, I would bet that he would have raised his hand too. In chapter 3, he elaborates how difficult of a foe the tongue is to master. So let's start in James 3. We're going to cover verses 2 through 8. And I'm going to be reading this out of the original King James. "For in many things we offend all. If any man offendeth not in word, the same is a perfect man, and able also to bridle the whole body. Behold, we put bits in the horses' mouths that they may obey us, and we turn about their whole body. Behold also ships, which though they are so great, and are driven of fierce winds, yet are they turned about with a very small helm, whithersoever the governor listeth. Even so, the tongue is a little member, and boasteth great things. Behold, how great a matter a little fire kindleth. And the tongue is a fire, a world of iniquity. So is the tongue among our members, that it defileth the whole body, and setteth on fire the course of nature, and is set on fire of hell. For every kind of beasts and of birds and of serpents and of things in the sea is tamed, and hath been tamed of mankind, but the tongue can no man tame. It is an unruly evil, full of deadly poison." Now that was an absolutely scathing rebuke of the tongue by James. Let's review some of the adjectives he used to describe the tongue in this passage. A fire, an unruly evil, full of deadly poison, and a world of iniquity. But he's right. We as humans have mastered so many incredible things. In the time of James, that ship analogy was well suited. We could control an entire ship from a small helm. But now, we can control spacecraft, automobiles, trucks, submarines, airplanes, and more. We even have people that control entire nations, who from the top influence every aspect of government. These same people cannot tame their tongue. How many talented national leaders over the years have been caught on tape saying the wrong thing, or maybe briefly lost their temper in a press conference? I'm sure we could think of a few examples. These men can put into submission entire nations. However, they cannot tame the tongue. What about animals? Do any beasts of the earth stand in the way of man today? As James references, all can be tamed and subdued. And now, with the inventions of air conditioning and indoor heating, we've even put the weather into submission. However, we cannot subdue the tongue. So if it's so difficult, then why do we have to do it? If we fail to tame the tongue, what will happen? Is it just a little sin? Is it okay to maybe just offend somebody here and there on occasion? Is this really a deal breaker when it comes to our salvation? Are we really disrespecting God, or are we just disrespecting a man or a woman? Well, let's continue in James 3. And we'll read now from verses 9 through 12 to answer these questions. Again, James 3, 9 through 12. Therewith bless we God, even the Father, and therewith curse we men, which are made after the similitude of God. Out of the same mouth proceedeth blessing and cursing. My brethren, these things ought not so to be. Doth a fountain send forth at the same place sweet water and bitter? Can the fig tree, my brethren, bear olive berries? Either a vine figs. So can no fountain both yield salt water or fresh. When we curse men, we curse the image of God. We cannot curse the image of God and then turn around and bless God with the same tongue. A fig tree cannot bear olive berries. I want to highlight this analogy of a tree bearing fruit, discuss it a bit further. James is reinforcing a concept that Christ taught in his ministry. Let's all turn to Matthew 7, verse 16, and we'll read through verse 20. Again, that's Matthew 7. Verse 16, you will know them by their fruits. Do men gather grapes from thorn bushes or figs from thistles? Even so, every good tree bears good fruit, but a bad tree bears bad fruit. A good tree cannot bear bad fruit, nor can a bad tree bear good fruit. Every tree that does not bear good fruit is cut down and thrown into the fire. Therefore, by their fruits you will know them. Can a fig tree bear olive berries? Can a tongue that curses men praise God? The answer is no. So let's shift focus, and let's zero in on some ways that we can bring our tongue into submission. Based on the scriptures that we've covered today, I prepared 3 tips to hopefully help us tame the tongue. Number 1, use your tongue to bless. A good tree cannot bring forth evil fruit, so let's work to make ourselves a good tree and use our tongue to bless instead of curse. One great way to do this is to edify each other. Build each other up with our words instead of tearing each other down. Now, some of us may be really good at this, but for others, it may take some practice. It seems rudimentary, but it can be difficult to give compliments and edify others if it's not something that you're used to. Try to find something good about someone else and say it. It doesn't matter if it feels out of place or it might make you a little uncomfortable. If a compliment is sincere and from the heart, it will never be wrong. Tip number 2. Remember that man is made in the image of God. Therewith bless we God, even the Father, therewith curse we men, which are made after the similitude of God. God made us in his image, and that's not just the way we look, it's also to a certain extent the way we talk, the way we think, the way we relate to each other. A lot of these personality traits that we carry are similar to those that God carries. We need to be careful that we treat all humans with the respect due to the offspring of God. So how do we do this? Philippians 4, verse 8. Let's briefly turn to Philippians 4, verse 8. Finally, brethren, whatever things are true, whatever things are noble, whatever things are just, whatever things are pure, whatever things are lovely, whatever things are of good report, if there is any virtue and there is anything praiseworthy, meditate on these things. Make sure to find the good in everybody. Find those personality traits that are similar to God's personality traits. Focus on those things, and you'll be more hesitant to offend. Tip number 3, purify our hearts. In the introduction, I referenced Luke 6:45, where Christ states that what comes out of our mouths is a result of what is in our hearts. Therefore, it stands to reason, if you want to fully tame the tongue, you also need to tame the heart. We need to purify ourselves. Is there a reason we might struggle with taming the tongue? Is there an underlying sin, such as resentment or bitterness, that is causing this issue? we need to seek out and eliminate those sins. To conclude, taming the tongue is a very hard task. James speaks to this when he calls the tongue a fire, an unruly evil, and full of deadly poison. It is easier to send a man into space than it is to tame the tongue. But taming the tongue is a critical part of our faith. A fig tree cannot bear olive berries. We cannot curse men and praise God with the same tongue. An evil tree cannot bring forth good fruit. To tame the tongue, we need to use it to bless, give compliments, lift each other up. We must become a good tree so we cannot bear bad fruit. We must also remember that man is made in the image of God, and when we curse men, we curse God as well. Finally, brethren, we need to purify our hearts so any hidden evil or sin cannot escape through our mouths.